Okay, so now let's talk about this idea of a service level agreement. Service level agreement is also abbreviated as SLA. And this is a contract between a customer and the service provider regarding some of the performance expectations of a network. So if you are a customer, for example, you would be stating in that contract that I would like to have this much performance in my network once I get a service provided by your company. A lot of times this SLA or service level agreement is really missing in a smaller contract. So for example, when you have a subscription to an internet service at home, you don't usually get to see these types of things. These service level agreements, they usually appear in a bigger contract. So for example, if Penn State is getting a service from a big company like AT&T or Verizon and so on, you will have a service level agreement that states exactly what the expected performance or network performance level is. And based on our discussion in the earlier lectures, you know how network performance is measured, and that's one of the significances of being able to quantify network performance by using the network performance metrics we talked about. So for example, network speed is one, availability is another one, and we also talked about error rate, response time, jitter, all those types of things. So, or delay. So since we know how to measure network performance, this is how we can articulate our expectations regarding the expected service performance, network service performance. And one thing I'd like to mention here is the fact that a lot of times these service level agreements, they talk about minimum performance, not maximum performance. So for example, if you're talking about network speed, okay, so let's say service level agreement is really talking about network speed, we're not really talking about maximum speed. And there's a reason for it, because if you're talking about maximum speed, you're kind of limiting yourself as a customer. So that's why you may not want to talk about maximum speed, but you may want to talk about the worst case scenario and say something like the network speed shouldn't fall under, say, 100 megabit per second. So you always talk about the worst case scenario. Speed should not be under 100 megabit per second, for example. Another thing to remember is also you have to associate this with the time, because there's no perfect network, and some failures are bound to happen. So you cannot say you will expect network speed to be above 100 megabit per second 100% of time. So you will have to be somewhat lenient about the consistency of the service performance. So we call it percentage of time element. So you have to say something like 99% of the time the network speed will be above 100 megabit per second. So for example, you will say something like, for 99.9% of the time the network speed will be above 100 megabit per second.